A blessed good morning, coming to you from Scarborough. As the Tobago calling time ends, here's a thought for you today and the week ahead. Do you need insight into a decision that you have to make or a light of understanding regarding a specific situation? Whatever your need is today, remember that God is the light to illuminate every area of your life, and it is impossible for darkness to exist where there is light. Turn on the light. Study and meditate on the Word of God and be obedient to it. Also, ask the Holy Spirit to speak to your heart and shine the light of truth in every area of your life. Another little secret is to reach out to others who are less privileged than you are. And as you focus and practice these things, your own path will be made clearer and you will move forward with confidence. Now don't move that dial, as I am sure you will continue to enjoy the rest of this morning's Forever Young program, and I thank you.
Good morning. My birthday is Monday the 14th. So, if you all could play a lovely song for Erica, because I know Monday.
Hi, pleasant good morning to Uncle Brother and Chris J. Jimmy from Barataria, wishing you all the best for the day, like now, thanking God for life and life more abundantly. Blessing upon you, Chris Day, and Uncle Brother, and your whole family. Do have a Christ-centered day. Bye.
Achama c'est là pour nous célébrer jour de fête. Nous allons manger bonbons avec boire ice cream. Pas oublier pour vous morceau ba moi.
I have left the land of bondage with its earthly treasures. I've journeyed to a place where there is love on every hand. I've exchanged the land of heartaches for a land of pleasure. I'm camping in Canaan's happy land. Every day I'm camping in the land of Canaan. And with rapture I survey its wondrous beauties grand. Glory, glory, hallelujah. I have found the land of promise, and I'm camping in Canaan's happy land. Out of Egypt I have traveled through the darkness dreary, far over hills and valleys and across the desert sand. But I've landed safe at home where I shall not grow weary. I'm camping in Canaan's happy land. Every day I'm camping in the land of Canaan. And with rapture I survey its wondrous beauties grand. Glory, glory, hallelujah. I have found the land of promise, and I'm camping in Canaan's happy land. Yes, I've reached the land of promise with the scenes of glory. My journey ended in a place so lovely and so grand. I've been led by Jesus to this blessed land of story. I'm camping in Canaan's happy land. Every day I'm camping in the land of Canaan. And with rapture I survey its wondrous beauties grand. Glory, glory, hallelujah. I have found the land of promise, and I'm camping in Canaan's happy land. Every day I'm camping in the land of Canaan. And with rapture I survey its wondrous beauty grand. Glory, glory, hallelujah. I have found the land of promise, and I'm camping in Canaan's happy land.
gospel ship. I'm going far beyond the sky. Well, I'm gonna shout and sing until the heavens ring, while I'm bidding this world goodbye. Far past the sun and moon, I shall be traveling soon, where the way is always fair. Way past the highest star, to heaven's gate ajar, I'll be traveling through the air. Well, I'm gonna take a trip in the good old gospel ship. I'm going far beyond the sky. Well, I'm gonna shout and sing until the heavens ring, while I'm bidding this world goodbye. Yes, I'll be bidding this world goodbye. I'll be bidding this world goodbye.
Are you or anyone you know eligible for Senior Citizens Pension from the Ministry of Social Development and Family Services? If your answer is yes, there's great news for you. Through a partnership between the Ministry and iGov-TT, a new automated process is now available to all applicants for Senior Citizens Pension. If you have attained the age of 65, a resident of Trinidad and Tobago with a monthly income below $5,500, you may now stay in the comfort of your home and apply for your pension through this online automated process. This is a safe, convenient, and quick way to complete your application as you're taken from inline to online. Log on to www.social.gov.tt or www.ttconnect.gov.tt to chat with a live agent, or you may call toll-free at 800-1673 or 800-8826 extension 3005. The Ministry of Social Development and Family Services, helping, empowering, transforming lives. This was a production of the Information Division, Office of the Prime Minister, Communications. The National Family Services Division of the Ministry of Social Development and Family Services extends its support and commitment to individuals and households that may be feeling overwhelmed, confused, depressed, or anxious due to the impact of COVID-19. If you or a loved one is in need of counseling, advice, or simply feel insecure or lonely, please call the National Family Services Division at 623-2608, extensions 6701 and 6707, or you may call the Ministry's toll-free hotline at 800-1MSD. That's 800-1673. The Ministry of Social Development and Family Services, helping, empowering, transforming lives. This was a production of the Information Division, Office of the Prime Minister, Communications.
Family is the bedrock of our society.
As the world continues to adjust to the new realities that are before us, we must ensure that our families are protected and remain resilient.
The Ministry of Social Development and Family Services presents It's Family Time. Let's Talk, with special features to include the impact of COVID-19.
Join us every Saturday from 8 to 9 a.m. as we take a deeper look into how this pandemic has affected our mental state, our parenting skills, and our relationships with our children, spouses, the elderly, persons with disabilities, those living with HIV and AIDS, and ourselves.
Remember, stay home, stay safe, save lives.
The Ministry of Social Development and Family Services, helping, empowering, transforming lives. This Saturday's topic, domestic violence, with presenter Edris Gabriel, NFSD Family Service Social Worker.
And it's the International Month of the Family. It's Family Time. Let's Talk, a radio program which focuses on issues affecting and surrounding the well-being of families. It's happening every Saturday right here on Isaac 98.1 FM from 8 to 9 a.m. And among the topics to be featured are family values and communication within the family, family relationships, lifestyle change, and impact on the family's resilience. Aging and International Elder Abuse Awareness Day, caring for the elderly, supporting young adults to become future leaders, substance abuse and the impact on families, suicide, depression and mental health, and much more, promoting healthy, functional families. So we stand by to connect with a representative from the ministry. So stay tuned. Isaac 98.1 FM, the station of promise. Want to remind you that you can enjoy the interview via our social media pages as well. You can connect via Facebook, or you can go over to YouTube, like and subscribe, and you can catch the interview and other great content from us there as well. So stay with us. Isaac 98.1 FM, the station of promise.
The National Family Services Division of the Ministry of Social Development and Family Services extends its support and commitment to individuals and households that may be feeling overwhelmed, confused, depressed, or anxious due to the impact of COVID-19. If you or a loved one is in need of counseling, advice, or simply feel insecure or lonely, please call the National Family Services Division at 623-2608, extensions 6701 and 6707. Or you may call the ministry's toll-free hotline at 800-1MSD. That's 800-1673. The Ministry of Social Development and Family Services, helping, empowering, transforming lives. This was a production of the Information Division, Office of the Prime Minister, Communications. you or anyone you know eligible for senior citizens pension from the Ministry of Social Development and Family Services? If your answer is yes, there's great news for you. Through a partnership between the ministry and iGov-TT, a new automated process is now available to all applicants for senior citizens pension. If you have attained the age of 65, a resident of Trinidad and Tobago with a monthly income below $5,500, you may now stay in the comfort of your home and apply for your pension through this online automated process. This is a safe, convenient, and quick way to complete your application as you're taken from inline to online. Log on to www.social.gov.tt or www.ttconnect.gov.tt to chat with a live agent, or you may call toll-free at 800-1673 or 800-8826 extension 3005. The Ministry of Social Development and Family Services, helping, empowering, transforming lives. This was a production of the Information Division, Office of the Prime Minister, Communications.
Family is the bedrock of our society.
As the world continues to adjust to the new realities that are before us, we must ensure that our families are protected and remain resilient.
The Ministry of Social Development and Family Services presents It's Family Time. Let's talk with special features to include the impact of COVID-19.
Join us every Saturday from 8 to 9 a.m. as we take a deeper look into how this pandemic has affected our mental state, our parenting skills, and our relationships with our children, spouses, the elderly, persons with disabilities, those living with HIV and AIDS, and ourselves.
Remember, stay home, stay safe, save lives.
The Ministry of Social Development and Family Services, helping, empowering, transforming lives. This Saturday's topic, domestic violence, with presenter Edris Gabriel, NFSD Family Service Social Worker.
The National Family Services Division of the Ministry of Social Development and Family Services extends its support and commitment to individuals and households that may be feeling overwhelmed, confused, depressed, or anxious due to the impact of COVID-19. If you or a loved one is in need of counseling, advice, or simply feel insecure or lonely, please call the National Family Services Division at 623-2608, extensions 6701 and 6707. Or you may call the ministry's toll-free hotline at 800-1MSD. That's 800-1673. The Ministry of Social Development and Family Services, helping, empowering, transforming lives. This was a production of the Information Division, Office of the Prime Minister, Communications.
I'm back with you. And this is Forever Young. We're going to be doing our interview. Let's talk with the Ministry of Social Development and Family Services, starting in a little bit. And we're going to have a little truncated program this morning.
Okay.
But we're here online now with Miss Gabriel. Good morning.
A pleasant good morning to you and to your listeners.
I don't know who is trying to keep us apart, but it's not going to happen today.
Okay. All right. So it means to say that I have to shorten my presentation as well. Okay. All right.
We will work around it.
Yes, no problem at all.
Ms. Gabriel, we're here to talk about domestic violence.
Yes.
And so I'm going to let you lay it out for us, and then we just have some discussion around your as you call it, your presentation.
Yes, correct. On the radio. Yes, I'm listening.
Yes. So I heard you say you had a presentation, so I was going to allow you to proceed with that.
It's just really explaining what is my understanding domestic violence is and how it affects the family.
That's a good place to start. Could you talk to us about that? What is domestic violence?
Okay. Now I always refer to the Domestic Violence Act 27 of 1999 and their definition of domestic violence. According to their definition, domestic violence is not just physical abuse. It includes sexual abuse, emotional or psychological abuse, and financial abuse. It is committed by a person against a spouse, child, any other person who is a member of the household or dependent. And that is taken from the Domestic Violence Act 27 of 1999, Chapter 45 to 56, sorry. All right, and that is the definition that I work with. Now, there are three important... Yes, go ahead. There are three important factors to note regarding domestic violence. And those three, I always highlight them as the intention, the risk, and the behavior. All right, with regard to the intention, domestic violence from the abuser acted out by the abuser is intended to control, dominate, or hurt another. I just want to repeat this. The intention is to control, dominate, or hurt another. With regard to risk, the risks associated with domestic violence are greatest for victims who are isolated from family and friends, which will then mean that victim has lack or absolutely no social support system, which is so important in a situation like this. And then when it comes to behavior, I really want to emphasize that domestic violence is primarily a learned behavior. And if it is not addressed, the effect becomes more destructive over time. All right? And by stating that it is primarily a learned behavior, it means that there is a reasonable chance of changing that pattern of behavior from the abuser by applying appropriate assistance. So it's not something to say, well, I am this way and I can never change. That's how I am. It can be changed because it's a learned behavior. All right?
Now, you've said that it's a learned behavior.
Yes.
What systems do we have in place to deal with relearning behaviors?
Okay. I can address it by what we do at National Family Services, because domestic violence cases, we deal with it on a regular basis. All right? And what we try to do is that usually it's the victim who is referred to us, or he or she comes in themselves seeking assistance, and we try to get the abuser involved as well. It is not always a very easy thing. I speak to you very openly about that, but we try to. And when we do, we can then point out through the use of counseling, explain to the couple, really, what is happening here and why he or she is behaving the way that they're behaving and how it's affecting the family, how it's affecting, because remember, we cannot lose sight of the children, because many times in a domestic violence situation, children are involved, and they also become victims because they're experiencing the abuse that is meted out to the parents. All right? So because sometimes people are behaving and they're not even understanding what they're doing and how it affects others. And you also have to show to them really how it is affecting the entire family structure. That is what we try to do. All right? And sometimes people understand it and they're open to change. But as I said, it is not an easy thing because we are dealing with someone who has become used to controlling and dominating the other person. What I also like to point out, that it has nothing to do with love. It is strictly about control and power and bringing that other person, which is the victim, to submission.
Mm-hmm. Now, would you also say that substance abuse...
that is one of the factors, most definitely. Most definitely. And as a matter of fact, I would say it is one of the most frequent reasons for, because it really alters the person's behavior, and sometimes they resort it in order to commit the act. Also, if a person is grown up in an environment where domestic violence is the order of the day and they have come to see it as normal, you know, they don't really recognize that that their behavior is really disturbing and affecting others. They don't recognize that is normal. That's normal behavior for the person. That is also another factor, that person after, as they grow up into their adulthood, that is what they do. That is what I see daddy doing, that is what I do. This is how I see mommy behave. So this is what I do when they get in and decide to start a family of their own. That behavior is it's like a cycle, really. It's really like a cycle. Mm-hmm. All right, and that goes on from generation to generation if it's not addressed.
Mm-hmm. Now, I want to go back to the substance abuse piece because
all right.
The access to alcohol sometimes is very prevalent, and therefore you find that in families it may be normal for consumption of alcohol by adults and even children.
Yeah.
Would that be considered domestic abuse, and would that also lead to violence and other parts of the domestic abuse?
Without a doubt. My response to that is without a doubt. And here's what I have to say on this. Many times that when the police are called in, or maybe a neighbor or someone sees that abuse is happening in that household, usually it's because the abuser is under some form of influence. If it's not alcohol, it can be drugs. Right? And usually that person is an addict. That person has an addiction. And as we understand, when we are speaking about addiction, you have no control over your behavior. It is, you are addicted to that. So then we are heading into another direction about substance abuse here. Right? That person is totally a slave, if you like, to whatever substance that he or she is addicted to. And again, that affects the behavior. I've had a client who was a victim of domestic violence, and she said to me when her husband was not under the influence of alcohol, he was a very normal and nice person. But the moment that he drank and he came home, it was a different person. To her, she couldn't even recognize who this person was. He was so different to the person she knows who was when he was not under the influence. So that is, again, as I'm saying, the influence and how it modifies and changes that behavior, and he became very aggressive. And out of that aggression came the abuse.
Mm-hmm. I want to go in another direction.
Yes, of course.
I want to ask you about the pandemic that we're in now.
Yes.
and some families exist in extremely close quarters.
Correct.
And because of that, the overlapping existence within that family may lead to some friction and may lead to domestic abuse. Am I calling that correctly?
You are calling it very correctly, and here's why. Because in a family, let us just review a family, on the pre-pandemic, they had a routine. The children go to school, the husband goes to work, and the wife is working as well, she has to work, and that's the routine they had on a weekly basis. This is what we do every day, and all of a sudden the children are home. Let us add another aspect here, either the father or the mother has lost their job because of the pandemic. And now everybody is within that house. Everybody's inside, live in close proximity of each other. And then here's another thing, then you have the financial issue. Because the income that normally came in when the both parties were working is no longer there. It is no longer there. So therefore, you have an additional problem, which is a serious one as well. And you know what I speak, I can give it to you in one word: tension. Now we are dealing with tension in that household. The people are up in each other's face. I'm just using that terminology to get my point across. And then, yes, you will have the conflict. And then you will have, people really and truly, you have the quarrels, and one thing can lead to another. That is how it works. So yes, you're correct when you said that, because everybody is you use the term in close proximity of each other. Yes, and that has effect.
So how can we mitigate in those kinds of circumstances? What can we do or suggest to families?
Once again, as I said, at our division, what we do, we call the parties in and bring it to attention what is actually happening and how it is affecting the household. And I'm saying to you what I have seen, people who really care about each other and who are really concerned about the family, the fabric of the family, and they're collapsing. Yes, they're willing to do something about it, and they have to change the pattern of behavior that what has been happening, and the effect it has been causing on each family member. All right, and then you have to, and this is where parenting skill comes in sometimes, because the children are getting on their nerves because it's all of them there in the home, and then you have to assist them with the virtual learning, all of that. Then you have to bring in some parenting skills as well, because there's a lot of things happening, but you have to think about the children as well. And what I normally do to parents is to point out to them how their behavior is affecting the children. And that sometimes they open their eyes and they wake up. Because at the time when they're at each other's throats, if you like, they're not recognizing what is happening there, because they're in anger and they're behaving and responding according to their anger and their frustration.
Now, I am no psychologist, so
okay.
I'm very careful venturing into this area.
Yes,
but when I was
yes, you should be.
when I was growing up,
yes,
you played games around the house.
Mm-hmm.
You had activities around the house,
yes,
which distracted you in a sense from some of the more mundane things or some of the more serious occurrences around the house. You didn't know that some things occurred because you were engaged in playing games and stuff like that.
Right.
Would you think that the introduction of family activities like that would help to work? Yeah?
No, okay. One of the realities we have to understand, and I know sometimes it's very difficult, but we can't, lose sight of the reality. Otherwise, we'll be living in a sort of kind of bubble world. The fact is that times have changed. And children are now very, very, very internet savvy. The games they play is the games that they have on the Xbox, these types of games. They spend hours upon hours with their phones playing these games, or on their laptops, or on their cell or their tablets. So the games that we were speaking, they may be in our time. Let me just, in our time, let me just join you with that. Yes, that is not the moral and the hopscotch. These are the things that you're talking about.
Yes.
That is not, you talk to children about that, and then you should see their faces. So what parents have to do now is try to compromise with the children. I would suggest board games. I would suggest doing some board games like the Scrabbles and the Monopoly. That's at least where parents can, participate and spend what you will call quality time with the children. All right? Mm-hmm. And some of these games that they have on the laptop, and all of these things, some of them are very violent. And that is not something I would say about parents controlling your children and doing something like that, because, that speaks for itself. But they'll have to look at ways. One of the things that sometimes I introduce to families is really having their weekly meetings. With that, and use that moment to speak and say how things are affecting you, how you would like to see things. Because after, how many times do they sit down and have conversations with your children? Because they're sometimes so busy putting food on the table and keeping that roof over their head and dealing with all these very serious things that they realize they don't even know what's going on with their children, how they feel about what is going on. And I have introduced that to some of my clients, and who were very open and receptive to it, I should add as well. And that really was an eye-opener for them. That what I don't think that the children were paying attention to and were totally familiar with and were up to date on, they were shocked. So I think that's quality time speaking and chatting with the children and finding out what's going on. I can use that also for a moment to say where we meet so that they have something nice to eat and share, make it very friendly and comfortable, and you chat. Sometimes that is all what it takes.
I hear you.
And you know what I describe that as? You know what I describe that as? You're bonding. Family bonding.
Bonding. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that is so important.
Now, I'm glad you introduced that because I want to ask you now, what are some of the rules of engagement that need to be established when you're having that family meeting and family bonding? What would you suggest?
First thing I would say, put all phones away, all cell phones away, because this is time for us. We are dealing and chatting with us. That will be my rule number one. And I've told Andy on this, because that phone, you know what? Because even when sometimes parents are speaking to children and they're on the phone still going ahead, because they're so, I have to use the term, and I put it between inverted commas, so addicted to that device. So that is all that they're focused on. And parents are also responsible for that, but that is another topic for another time. But the thing is that put our phones away, right? And speak what is on your mind. Let us be open and frank with each other. Because the family, having a functional family and a loving family is so important to all of us. It's all of us. We all are stakeholders in this. We all are stakeholders in this, and whatever affects one affects the other. And that is
there any question?
One thing I just want to say also to add to this, what adults have to realize. What I know what I'm saying might be a bit controversial, but children are very clever. Children are really very clever. Sometimes they're even more clever than the adults. They are born into their time. And what you think that they are not aware of and they know, you'll be surprised. So I always advise, do not speak down to your children. Speak across to your children, because they understand. But it's how you approach them will determine how they will respond. Yes.
What questions and what areas are off the table?
Off the table. And it depends on the family. I will not make a broad statement on that. It depends on the family. It is really dependent on the family, what the family is accustomed to, what are the boundaries, each family has different boundaries. But I will say, be open and frank. You may notice something during the week with one person what is going on. And you have to be very frank, like the father who has lost his work. If he can sit down and explain to his children how that made him feel, how depressed he is, how worried he is about the family, about the maintaining of the family, that he is no longer in a position to contribute. That sort of a thing. He can be open and frank about that. That's a big one, but it just be open and frank about it. And the children will then have a better understanding what is going on with daddy. They know the thing, but hearing it from him makes a difference.
Now, I need to ask you.
Yes.
I need to ask you a question. You have a parent who's lost their income, and they're explaining that to the child. What should the expectation of the parent be from the child's reaction?
They will expect the child to be understanding. They know it will be very difficult when you say that, because the child will be hurt. Feel hurt for the father, and children sometimes a little problem, expressing their emotions, but at least they know daddy has been open and frank with you, or mommy has been open and frank with you, because it could be the mommy who also has lost. Right? But they know. You see, it's better to be truthful to a child or to each other, because for everybody, for all the participants there, rather than you're dancing in the truth or wrong, because it's difficult for you to face up, and then you have the response of everybody, like, I don't know what's going on, but everybody knows. But you can't, because you never really said it, you never really opened and said it out, said it to us. So it's better to do it.
Are there any, apart from the state of organism, are there any NGOs or CBOs out in Trinidad that you can suggest parents or children can go to for support, let's say outside of the church, even the church?
All right. Well, I know that when we have National Family Services, I can tell you that one, and we deal with that all the time. Also, I know that you see some of the what I will really like to say. I know that there are some support systems out there, but again, what we're dealing with is also with the element here is parenting. That's what I'm saying. And National Family Service has annually a parenting program. And we also try to we try to use relevant topics, things that really affect families in today's society. Now we have Family in Action. That is another of that I can say that you can refer. They refer families to. They offer counseling as well. And they do a good work, because also they work with us for the parenting program. Also, they are one of our facilitators. All right, and you can see, because they're trained, in dealing with family issues. All right, and I would suggest Family in Action as one that comes to mind, and National Family Services and the parenting program that we have. Right now, because of the pandemic, it's being done virtually, but they address topics that is relevant and that what affects the families at this present time, particularly in the pandemic situation that we're in.
This is Forever Young, and we're talking with Ms. Edris Gabriel this morning. And this is the name is
Edris. Edris is pronounced
Edris.
Yes.
Edris Gabriel. I'm sorry.
Thank you.
And we're dealing with domestic violence. I want to talk to you about elder abuse.
Oh Lord, we know that is a very totally different topic. But I would say that I would prefer that I have a colleague of mine speak on. I am more versed in the domestic violence circumstance. All right. Okay, so elderly abuse has a very different dynamic. I know that we deal with it also, but I don't want to speak as an authority on the topic. I'll be doing it in the state. Yeah.
All right.
Because it's another very sensitive topic. It's a very, very sensitive topic, just like domestic violence. And I know it's happening. It's happening in our society. It is real. And I think it's one of the topics that will be addressed in the Let's Talk Family Time. So I will leave that to my colleagues to address that.
Okay, I hear you. Let me just ask you another question about the interministerial relationship. So that I want to know about the Ministry of Education and its relationship with your department.
In which regard? That is, you'll have to tell me.
In regard to, let's say the ministry identifies an instance of domestic violence, a child may have reported, or the teacher would have noticed something.
Right.
What is the obligation of the teacher ministry person in that sense?
Now, what I think that should happen, and I'm hoping that is what is done, because you have what you call the student support system that is within the Ministry of Education, and such issues like that is brought to the student support system. They have people who are trained, in dealing with that. However, they have come to recognize that it's really beyond their expertise. Which has happened, they can refer families to the National Family Services. We refer also, for example, if someone comes in, let's say they're a domestic violence victim, and they recognize that they're suffering from a very severe depression or panic attack, then we have to refer them, because such a person does recognize that they need a clinical treatment. And we will have to refer them to the appropriate institution where they can receive that help. So referring is also one of the things that we do.
Now,
my understanding, just to summarize in my response to your question.
Go ahead.
If a teacher recognizes that a child is behaving in a certain way and they realize that this may have to do with what is happening at the home of the child, the student support unit is where they usually make their report to, and they treat to that, and if they realize that child or the family has to be referred elsewhere, they do so. That is my understanding.
Mm-hmm. Now, if you've identified in a family that there is that dysfunction where it is harmful to the child, or harmful to a spouse, is there an instance where they can be removed from the environment and sheltered somewhere? And if so, how are these shelters organized?
Okay, here's what I'm saying. From the moment you reckon, we have to separate how it goes. If the focus is on the children, the child that is being abused in that dysfunctional family environment, then we have to call in the Children's Authority. That's where Children's Authority come in play. All right, they deal with matters that affect children. All right, and they will then do an intervention. And in some cases, when an intervention is done, they refer the families, the parents, to us for counseling. All right, so it's really all stakeholders. What we try to get all stakeholders involved, and each stakeholder will deal with the part that is relevant to them. That's how it works. Sometimes when it comes, let me just add this part. If it's determined that the child or the children have to be removed from the home, which is usually the last resort, that is Children's Authority. That comes under the purview of the Children's Authority. They deal with such matters.
Typically, what kind of time frame is involved in a situation like that?
Now, that is a very good question, and that is a question that really no one can say. It is totally dependent on the situation, right? And it is really totally dependent on the situation. Depending, it can take a shorter period or a longer period of time. If, for example, if it is a mother that eventually has to go before the court, I mean, that of itself will tell you there must be some time involved in that. But in a case of abuse of children, because I think that is really where you're going with your question, correct me if I'm wrong, then, of course, the intervention has to act swiftly. Because you can't leave a child in a situation where the child is being abused. Sometimes that's what I mean. Sometimes intervention means that having to remove the child from that home environment, and that has to go before the court because the magistrate, the sitting magistrate, will have to make decisions in such matters. Of course, together with the children's authority findings, and recommendations. Of course.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Now, one would think that if there's harm involved with any person, whether it be child or otherwise, that the wheels of the system should be so well greased that they will move swiftly?
Yeah, but that is what is expected. And sometimes, and I will say, it does. But again, it is dependent on the circumstance, because sometimes you have unforeseen circumstances that you have to deal with. But the whole idea is to act and to act swiftly as possible. Because you don't want to have that it reaches a dire point where there's a life, a loss. You have to act, and and again, in some cases, you have to also reach out to the CTPS, the Central Legal Police Service, also to assist if the situation is so volatile, and that sort of thing. Sometimes that is required.
I'm informed that the ministry would sometimes help in terms of offering rental assistance and so.
Right. Now that you're referring to another department of the ministry, that's the social welfare department. Now. Yes, but it's also according. It really has to be in critical situations, and yes, it is offered. But again, each case is reviewed on its merit. How dire the situation is there a case of life in that situation? So that's why we call it critical circumstances. Yes.
How would you describe a critical situation?
Where there's when I say life in that, for example, let us come back now to the domestic violence situation where a mother has to flee from a home with her children, because her life is being threatened, the children's lives is being threatened as well, and of course, based on the intervention from more stakeholders, it is clear, yes, indeed, that this woman's life is in danger. And first of all, in a situation like that, you'll have to find a safe home for that person where they'll have to stay for a period of time, and thereafter, if the person, for example, is unemployed and she has these children in a care and the father can't find him because he's fled, or maybe even he's incarcerated for that matter. Yes, that is a situation where it can be considered for rental assistance and other assistance as well. Because it's clearly a domestic violence, genuine domestic violence circumstance where indeed the family is such a dire need that, yes, it is considered critical.
What is the expectation after someone is given that level of assistance and it comes to an end? What is the expectation then?
The expectation that the person and the children can live a fruitful life. That's why all that work went into it. Of course, counseling of that family is also necessary. Because remember, you're dealing with people who have been traumatized. The mother is traumatized, the children are traumatized, their lives have been threatened, then do the see yourself. And that will take a period of time, for the healing to take place. Yeah.
I was reading my paper this morning, somewhere around 2 o'clock this morning, and I noticed, I saw an article where a life was lost because of a domestic situation and a life was lost.
Yes.
How effective would you say are some of the instruments that are available to people? Like, for instance, a court order that says that you have to stay away how many feet or miles from somebody. How effective are those instruments?
Right. You're talking about the protection orders as well as the restraining
orders.
That is what you're referring to. Well, I can say, I have to speak based on my own experience. I can't speak of the experience for others. They can be effective. However, there's always a case where you, let us say the abuser in such a situation, who really, sometimes I say when you evaluate someone, do a psychological evaluation of someone like that, you recognize that they themselves have issues. They themselves may even have mental health issues, for all you know. And sometimes those orders are violated. That is, but generally, they do help. They do help because when the violation takes place, that person can be in prison. It is serious. But you do have people who violate, and you will always have that. You will always have that. Now, I am saying there are a lot of work that is being done in the area of domestic violence. I have no doubt about that, but there's always more can be done. There's always more that can be done, but you can't expect to say nothing is being done. If you look over the history and where we are at this present time. And there are stakeholders. We have, this is not one division that is working by itself. There's stakeholders who are very much, well-intentioned, if you like, to make a difference, because we know that their lives are being lost as a result of this. Yeah. And we try to educate people, we try to sensitize people. That is work that is in progress. It will take some time. It will take some time. And, of course, with these things, you need money. You need money, to get this done. But the work is being done. But there's always more that can be done. That's how I would like to phrase it.
Now, I want to ask you one final question.
Yes.
In terms of present situation with reference to the pandemic and the constraints that we're under, would there be virtual counseling systems available by the organs that are providing counseling to people? And can people reach out to you in a virtual environment and expect to get some support?
Oh, without a doubt. Right, because of the pandemic, presently we are avoiding trying to see people face to face, because of the rules and regulations that are involved. But we offer counseling virtually as well as via the telephone, because some people don't have a laptop and don't have access to such things, and we do it via telephone. And some people feel comfortable, much more comfortable doing it via the phone, and we do it. We offer that. And I would like to give the number so that you can call. Right. Okay. Our head office, because I work also in the head office, our National Family Services head office, that is 95 to 97 Frederick Street here in Port of Spain. We are situated in Law Association building on the first floor. Our contact number, the PBX number is 623-2608. Let me repeat, 623-2608. And our extensions is from 6701 right up to 6708. I repeat, 6701 right up to 6708. There's always someone available in office when the calls come in. I also would like to add that we have service centers in different parts of the country. I will just call just a few, for like San Fernando, Pinal, Cuba, Chaguanas, and others. And what we do, when the calls come in to us, depending on where that person is situated, we will forward that information to the respective service center, and someone from that service center will contact that person to provide assistance.
Ms. Gabriel, any final words from you?
Well, I am just saying that people, to be patient, and if you recognize that your tension that is happening in your household, don't just sit and just hope that it will blow over. Reach out, make that call. Because there's help. Help is available. But you have to reach out to us for we need it, and we need it. Only too ready and happy to assist. Because we know because we are living it as well. We are in the pandemic as well, and we are quite aware of some of the issues that can arise out of it.
Thank you very much for being with us on Forever Young this morning.
Thank
in the
you for
Let's
having
Talk
us.
section.
Thank you.
We've been chatting with Ms. Edris Gabriel of the Ministry of Social Development and Family Services, and we're talking about domestic abuse. This is Forever Young on 98 FM, Isaac the Promise. Chris?
The National Family Services Division of the Ministry of Social Development and Family Services extends its support and commitment to individuals and households that may be feeling overwhelmed, confused, depressed, or anxious due to the impact of COVID-19. If you or a loved one is in need of counseling, advice, or simply feel insecure or lonely, please call the National Family Services Division at 623-2608, extensions 6701 and 6707. Or you may call the ministry's toll-free hotline at 800-1MSD. That's 800-1673. The Ministry of Social Development and Family Services, helping, empowering, transforming lives. This was a production of the Information Division, Office of the Prime Minister, Communications.
This program keeps me forever young. Oh Lord, it was such an exciting time this morning. We had such good discussion with Miss Gabriel, and we also had good interaction with our forever young guns, and we welcomed some new people.
Always.
You know, but of course I have to tell you, I waited until now to say that we lost a curiosity old boy, you know.
Yeah,
we lost a curiosity old boy this week.
Mr. Charles.
Yeah. A good man, you know, a good man.
Emil
Charles. He went to be with the Lord, and so we want to wish his relatives our condolences, his friends and his relatives. But we know the guy, and we were able to observe his living. And I want to tell you, his living was good. His living was good. So I believe very strongly that he is in the presence of the Lord. To be absent from the body is to be present with the Lord. So to his relatives, be assured that although you've lost him, heaven has gained him.
Amen. And he'll be missed. He'll be missed. Condolences once again to the Dowlat family, the Danolal family, and the Hills family on the passing of their loved ones as well. Yeah. It's about that time for us to say our goodbyes. As always, want to send blessings blessings to my parents.
This new fella here?
Cuthbert Joseph, the bishop.
But just, let me say it again. There's a new fella here, or there's a fella with new hair.
Bye-bye. Blessings to Cuthbert Joseph, the bishop, and his beautiful wife, my mom, Celine. Also to my beautiful wife, hardworking wife, Avanel. Love you so much. Our beautiful daughter, Imara. Our handsome son, Amani Christoph. Could not do it without you guys. As always, want to let you know, don't package your dream to fit within your budget. Jackie Barton is sending birthday greetings to Sister Patricia Roberts.
Good morning to the members of the board of directors.
I'm not sure.
And the management team and so on.
You're singing it now, though.
Yes, please, let me say, you know, my special good morning to you all. You know, there may be reason for us to chat.
Good morning and happy birthday to Beverly John as well. Happy birthday to you, Beverly John, and all those that sent in messages. Blessings to you guys. DJ Mickey is up next with Saturday Shakedown. Bye-bye.
I'm Dr. Margaret Elcock, President, Founder of LVN Isaac. 2021 is here. The stage is set for a global revival, a mighty move of God transcending all boundaries, all peoples, all nations, as the Church of Jesus Christ unites to fight the forces of darkness in these last and closing days. The battle intensifies, but in the midst of the darkness, the glory of God shines forth as the people worship God in spirit and in truth and in the beauty of holiness.